Hello, all you listeners to Full Disclosure with Janice Glenn, 10:10 a.m. I'm Darla Kavanaugh, and do I have some secrets for you? I'm gonna blow this reunion wide open. Hello, Champagne Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, I don't know how you found me, but I hope you'll stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Champagne Dreamers. My name is Janessa J. Champagne, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. But for tonight, I am actually going to be part of a community theater production. We did it last night. Tonight is the second night, and I created this glamour look to be part of Hoboken High Reunion 1989. I'm a Jersey girl in the 80s. So if you want to find out more about who this character is and what we're doing, then stick around because we're getting into it right now.
It won't go away. I've got that feeling rushing through my body. I know that it is here to stay. It's like you're my personal Illuminati. I know that some might say that I am just a bad girl, but if you treat me right, I will be the best girl in this whole world. No, I'm not gonna fight. I got my hands on your body.
Listen up, it's Janice Glenn. May 30th and 31st at the Empire Arts Center, the Hoboken High class of 79 is throwing a reunion so messy, it needs a mop. There's cheesecake, there's pizza, there's drama, and Doreen better watch her back. Tickets are limited, like Doreen's dignity. Cash bar, baby. Don't be a jabroni. Come.
That's right. I apologize to any of my viewers who are from New Jersey. I'm doing my best. I'm not good at accents, but that is my Jersey accent for Darla Kavanaugh. I was voted most studious in 1979, but there's some mystery, there's some intrigue. So Janice Glenn has a radio show called Full Disclosure. She's another one of the characters. And we get together and we decide that we're going to maybe reveal some secrets. We're going to spill some tea at the 10-year reunion of the Hoboken High class of 79. We're going to talk a little bit about what the show is and some of the storylines and some of the things that we did. And we're going to talk about how I came up with this gorgeous look using a beautiful palette from Bella Beaute Bar. And so I'm going to be right back. Welcome to the potato face. If you've seen one of these before, you know how it goes. But I'll be back and we'll start talking through the look and tell you all about the show in 3, 2, 1. Hello, YouTube. Yes, it's me, Potato Face, serial killer, reporting for duty. I am super excited. Tonight is a fundraiser for the Empire Theater in Grand Forks. It's the second night. We actually did this last night. I did a version of this makeup. I will pop a picture up on screen so you can take a look at what we did. We're going to do some minor modifications to it, but the fundraiser is Hoboken High Reunion 1989. And so it's an immersive, interactive theater experience. It's basically, if you've been to or heard of Tony and Tina's Wedding, it's very that, but it's all something that we scripted out and wrote ourselves, and we created a whole new show we're very excited about. It'll be over by the time you see this, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about my character and what we do in the show, and just show you the makeup look, because what I'm doing is still going to be very me, very drag, but I'm also kind of tailoring it a little bit to the fact that this takes place in the 80s. So we're using colors and some trends that are very 1980s, but in a way that's still somewhat me. So let's talk about the products that I have on my face, setting up my face so far. For primers, I squeezed out the last little bit of the One Size Secure the Sweat primer. I love this stuff. I'll probably buy another one. I have a few primers that I'm working through, so I don't know that I'll buy it immediately, but I would definitely buy another one of these. I really liked it. And I combined that with the Skindinavia Makeup Priming Spray, and I really feel like these two together, it feels to me very much like the Milk Makeup, that sticky primer, those kinds of sticky primers that you do. Using these two together gives me that kind of almost slightly tacky effect when I'm putting the foundation on, but I feel like it goes away, and I just really like the way that it works out. So these two together are really fantastic. Then for the foundation, I used up the last of my Polite Society More Than a Pretty Face foundation. Now this, I've had this for a little while. There's more in here, but I don't think I can get a full face because this one, right away when I started using it, the pump stopped working and I had to like unscrew the pump and like shake this onto my hand. And there's a little bit left in here, but I don't think there's enough for a full face. So I'm probably just going to put this in the empties. Except for that whole pump malfunction, I do like this foundation. This is a little bit too deep for me, but I thought that would be perfect for this show because it's a little bit too dark, it's a little bit too tan, and so it's very 80s. The 80s were very Malibu, Tropicana, everybody was Tropic Tan, all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really, really something that would work. And because I knew I was going to be powdering, I wanted to build in a little bit of radiance in to try to show through all of the powder that we're using. And so I did that with the Urban Decay Face Bond Luminizer. This is in PCH, and I mixed this into the foundation. I did put a little bit just under the eyes and kind of on the forehead and down the center of my face before putting on the foundation, but then I mixed this into the foundation so that I could have a little bit of that luminance built into the foundation before we applied the Polite Society powder. This is very shiny and blown out, sorry, but this is the peach powder. Now I did put this over the complexion because the 80s I feel like are very powdery. Now before we did that, sorry I'm getting all out of order, we did the Tarte Shape Tape. I got this Tarte Shape Tape. I never had it when Tarte Shape Tape was like the big thing, and then they had their whole debacle with their foundation release and the shade range that was absolutely terrible. But with Ulta, when you become Diamond, you get a free gift, and last year I got a Clinique foundation, and the Clinique foundations were back in there, and I still have it, and I like it, but I don't love it. And I was like, you know what, you never tried Shape Tape, so let's go ahead and give it a try. This was one of the options. And so I ordered this in a very light shade, and I do really like it. And what was nice is that they were having a promotion where if you bought Shape Tape concealer, you got a free concealer brush. And even though I got this for free as my Diamond like reward, I also got the free brush that was the gift with purchase for this. So that was very cool. So I got 2 free gifts for my Diamond renewal status. So this is the concealer that I'm wearing. Then for contour, I used this Colored Rain, May She Rest in Peace. I have a video where I did a full get ready with me using Colored Rain products as they were closing down. R.I.P. I miss Colored Rain. But I used this as my contour and just kind of did a little bit in the pockets. I didn't do a ton of contour because I'm going to do a blush draped look. I think the 80s, there was a lot of blush draping and a lot of that kind of stuff. Not the most extreme blush draping that I've done, but I'm going to do something that's a little bit more draped, a little bit bigger, and that kind of melds into the contour. And so the blush is going to do a lot of the work for us. So then after I did all of that, then I dusted my whole face. A lot of times I'll just use powder to bake under the eyes and maybe down the center of the face, but I decided to do the whole shebang and powder my whole face and down my neck and my décolletage with the Polite Society peach powder. And then of course I didn't want to be powdery, I didn't want to be cakey, so I sprayed it all down with a setting spray. I just happen to have the Glamlight Fresh Prints sitting around here. I have been testing out the Made by Mitchell, and I'm almost done with that one. And so when I do the brand review, I'll have some thoughts. But I wanted to mix it up. I've got a few setting sprays sitting here waiting to be used. So I used the Glamlight Fresh Prints just to kind of meld it so that we don't give any kind of powdery sort of look. We used a lot of powder, and we wanted to kind of melt it into the face. So now we're going to get into creating the face. I am super excited about this. So my character, Darla Kavanaugh, in summer of 79, disappeared after graduation. She was the most studious, that's what she was voted, most studious, and she was mousy and kind of nerdy. We took a really fun yearbook photo. I'll make sure to include that here so you can see this is Darla Kavanaugh in high school. And then in that summer after graduation, she disappeared. Nobody heard from her. Nobody knew what happened to her. She was just gone. But everybody heard that like maybe there was this rumor going around that she ran off to join the Moonies. So they were like, okay, so she's joined a cult. Something happened. She went a little crazy. And now she's gone off to live with the Moonies. We wish her well, whatever. So everybody comes to the reunion and there's a little table that's got a little like, kind of like an in memoriam, but she's just run off with the Moody's. They're like, in memory of our dear friend Darla who ran off to join a cult. So there's a little situation or whatever. So then I come in and make my big entrance about halfway through, and I've had this big glow up. I've had a makeover, and I've got now big blonde hair, and we were very glamorous. And so we're going to do a blue eyeshadow look, because I feel like when I think of 80s makeup, I think of blue eyeshadow, blue sparkly eyeshadow. And what better palette to get a beautiful sparkly blue eyeshadow look with than the Realm of Fairies palette from Bella Beaute Bar and Sassy Fairy. I love this palette. I think this is so cute. And there are just so many beautiful blue shades that we can create what we need. There's some light tones, there's some deep tones that we can use to darken it. And I do a slightly different, last night for the show, I did a slightly different sort of shape. It was very similar in some ways to like setting it up, but I tried to make it a little bit more rounded. I tried to do a little bit more of a real like triangle sort of outer corner, and you'll see as we go through. I'm going to try to recreate that here tonight. We'll see if I can do the same. And then we're going to get into some blush draping and of course a pink lip, very, very pink lip. All right, so I've gone ahead and primed my eyes with a little bit of the Ulta Matte eye primer. I love this one. It's very good. It's very simple. It's very affordable. And we're going to use this to set up the look. And we're going to start with this shade here, which is called Silver Mist. And I'm going to carve out the shape. It's still going to be a little bit kind of arched because that's just the way my face is. And I tried to make it more rounded and I just was having trouble. And so we're going to go ahead and start with this to draw out the basic shape of the top of the eye. So Darla is coming back to the reunion, and she is not only there to show off her brand new look, show her big makeover, she is also there to maybe expose some secrets. She is there and she immediately starts going after Doreen Lucino, who is the class president, and she's kind of the organizer of the reunion, and she's always got to be in charge, and she's really kind of full of herself, and she's got a lot of attitude. And it's set in New Jersey, and we're all doing our best. We're doing our best. We're doing like Jersey girl accents. I'm Darla Kavanaugh, and I like to go for a hot dog. Hot dog is one of the words I use to try to get into it. And so Darla is back to talk about what happened to her after graduation. Everybody wants to know. So one of the other characters is Janice Glenn, and she has a radio show, Full Disclosure, on 10:10 a.m. And so Darla starts talking to Janice in the lobby and telling her all about what she's been up to, and mentioning that maybe she has some secrets. Maybe she has some things she'd like to say, because Janice wants to know, why did you write a letter and say you were joining the Moonies if you weren't? And she says, I didn't write that letter. That letter is a forgery. I did not run off with the Moonies. And so Darla is kind of spreading the word that she has not run off with the Moonies. She's not been living with a cult. She has gone off and become more glamorous, and that there's more news to follow. So we like to, there's lots of little plot hooks. There's other stories that are going on. And so like there's somebody who had an affair with the foreign exchange student, and they had a baby together. And now she's married to like the wrestler guy, and he doesn't know that their first child is actually the exchange student's child, and the exchange student is back for the reunion, and it's a wild story. But so Darla's kind of dropping all these hints, and then we kind of start to find out more about what she's been up to. She went to the Barbizon modeling school. She took a class. It was very economical. And so she tells us all about that, and she says that she's got more to come. And she's giving Janice the exclusive, but that she's not ready to talk about it yet. And so we go around, and then there's some shenanigans, there's some hijinks, and there's a couple of wrestlers that are fighting with each other, and so then they have a little wrestling match. And then we find out there are two Tammys, Tammy with an I and Tammy with a Y. And so Tammy with a Y was the prom queen. But now they found a box of unopened, uncounted 1979 prom queen ballots in the basement. But they open it up, There was a pipe burst in 87, and they can't read them. We can't count them. So they decide to have a talent show, and anybody who wants to enter can enter to become the new prom queen. And so, of course, Darla, because she's had a makeover, she's loving the way she looks, she decides to enter. And so we're going to find out who becomes the prom queen. Now that I've drawn out the basic shape, I'm going to use this shade Periwinkle, and I'm going to go actually underneath it to build a little bit of depth underneath it and kind of fill out the shape and fill in a little bit more color. So Darla enters the talent show to compete to be prom queen. And she does a little lip sync. And let me tell you, when they announce it, they say, like, anybody who wants to enter can be part of it. And that's how they explain why Darla's in it. And there were actually people in the crowd that wanted to enter. So we actually had people who entered the talent contest. And I had to laugh because I was saying with some of the other cast members, I was like, well, it's rigged for me because I have to win because then there's a big revelation. But then I like win this talent show over people with actual talent. But basically the way that works is because it's a fundraiser, people vote with their dollars. So all 4 of the contestants in the cast have a jar. And then there's a jar for the audience. They added a jar for the audience members or whatever. And actually it's 3. That's a whole other drama story we'll talk about later. But so they added one. And basically there's this character that nobody except for Darla remembers. His name is Dennis Fortuna. And every time he stands up and says something, people are like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, I'm Danny Fortuna. I had perfect attendance all 4 years. I took 12th grade chemistry with you. Like all this kind of stuff. The only person who remembers him is Darla. So Darla in the lobby, that's one of the things that we kind of set up for the people who are around, is she sees him and she's like, Denny Fortuna, as I live and breathe. And he's like, you remember me? And I'm like, yeah, of course I remember you. How could I forget you? And all this kind of stuff. So he's immediately taken with Darla. And at the end, so he's kind of made some money. And he is like sort of a little rich guy. And so he stuffs Darla's jar with money to make sure that she wins. So we don't have to actually sit there and count the votes or whatever. Because everybody's voting with their dollars. I have so much fallout. I'm doing such a terrible job of keeping this contained. So he stuffed the ballot box for Darla. And then, so I win. And then we get into this big speech. So Dieter the DJ, who's this German DJ. This is why I love community theater, because he's doing a German accent, but the German accent is clearly Russian. Like, it's not German. And so he's the DJ, and everybody just thinks he's bad at the accent or whatever. So then he asks Darla, do you want to say anything as the newly crowned prom queen, do you want to say anything to your classmates? And she says, yes. And she starts talking about how, you were all shocked when I came here tonight. Some of you thought that I looked much different than I did in high school, but one of you must have thought she was seeing a ghost. That's because I'm not Darla Kavanaugh. I'm her older sister, Teresa. Darla is dead. So that's the big revelation. I'm not actually Darla Kavanaugh. I am Teresa Kavanaugh, and I am Darla's older sister, and I am here to catch her murderer. And so then we start going into this long story about how the summer of 79 after graduation, Darla made this new friend and she was having sleepovers. And I got to work in this joke about, because she's talking about her house and she's like, this girl had a house with a rec room, a den, and 4 very comfortable bedrooms, if you catch my drift. They were like 2 Marielle Hemingways in personal best. And Kathy, who is kind of the director of this whole thing and put this whole thing together, she's the creative director at the Empire, I think, or the executive director. I think the creative director. And so she was like, I don't get it. What is it? And I was like, it's a big lesbian sports movie from the 80s. She's like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? So I threw in this line where I'm like, personal best? The lesbian sports movie? Oh, you should watch it on VHS. Very provocative. But when I did the line last night, there was this line of like 4 older women, and when I said they were like 2 Marielle Hemingways in personal best, they were like, oh, and they giggled. And I was like, yes, vindication. So basically we reveal that Darla is dead and I am her sister, and I recently found her diary after our parents died and I was cleaning out their house. And we make it fun and like there's jokes about it. So it's like half serious, half jokey or whatever. But then I contacted Janice Glenn because I knew she had this radio show, and she got in with the police and we revealed that it was Doreen Lucino. And we think that she killed her because they find Darla buried under the pool. So the Lucinos, the summer after graduation, put in a pool. And that's the joke throughout the whole night. We're planting the seeds of like Doreen's dad is in the concrete business. And we're very clear, like, you know what that means or whatever. And so then when Doreen is confronted, she confesses that she and Darla had a fight because Darla wanted them to be out and public and proud, and she wasn't ready. And Darla called her a coward and pushed her. And she's like, do you know a Jersey girl who's not going to push back? And so she pushes her and she trips on her Farrah Fawcett platform shoes and falls down the steps and hits her head on the Cupid fountain in the foyer. Then her dad comes in at that moment and is like, I know a guy, and buries her. And they send Doreen off to Sicily to visit their family. And then when she comes back, they've got a pool. And so that's the big reveal. And there's other big reveals of the foreign exchange student finds out that he's a father, and they kind of play up this whole thing where maybe they're going to become like a throuple. Like, it's really ridiculous. It's very fun and tongue-in-cheek, but it's a lot of fun. So we need a blue look. So now that we've got this on, I am going to maybe start working on a few shimmers. So I normally would do the whole shape and do the outer corner, but I want to work in some shimmer. So I'm going to start with this shade Reflection, and I'm going to do that from the inner part to about halfway. Now these shimmers from Bella Beaute Bar are beautiful, but they're very flaky, and I don't want to spray it because I don't want to change the texture too much, but they are a little bit hard to pick up just by themselves. All right, so there's that first shimmer. Gorgeous, you're a model, you're Linda Evangelista. Now we're gonna do a second shimmer on the lid. And that's this shade, Illusion. Now this is very similar, but it's got a little bit more of a flip, a little bit more depth to it. And I'm gonna build that out almost all the way to the outer part, and then we're gonna worry about darkening. Again, very flaky, almost putty-like texture to these shimmers. It's a little bit crazy. So yeah, there are other like storylines and stuff going on. That's my storyline. There's also, like I said, there's the foreign exchange student who originally he was supposed to have a daughter with Sister Mary Immaculata, who there's this woman who, if you know, you know, Grand Forks Theater people will know, she's infamous for like being very late to learn her lines. And other people in the cast are more forgiving, and I am not, because she maybe went to one or two rehearsals from the sound of it, and never went to any of the late rehearsals, and like canceled yesterday on the show day. So the final rehearsal the night before, she canceled like an hour and a half before and said, oh, I can't make it. And then the first performance, she waits till an hour before call to say, I'm not going to be there. And so we had to change it around really quickly. Luckily, a lot of it's improv, so we can just try to remember to improv something else. But so they changed it to where the baby was the first baby that Tammy with an I has. And so that's kind of a thing. But he was supposed to have this baby with Sister Mary Immaculata because she was kind of a fast and loose girl in high school, and then she becomes a nun, and then she's got this ward, and she's going around showing everybody pictures of her ward. So then they just added the picture into these family pictures that Tammy with an I has. So that was one of the things. And that's the thing, is like when somebody just cancels out like that, it's not just her storyline. Our storylines interact with other people. So like my storyline is tied up with Doreen's character and Janice Glenn, and then the Sister Mary Immaculata, when she just suddenly dips out of the production, her character was tied up with Ricky's character. And so it's like, well, what's Ricky supposed to do now? Because most of his scripted stuff is all with her. So it was kind of a pain, but we fixed it very easily. I've known her for a long time. We are friends, but this really has put a sour taste in my mouth for her. And so I'm not naming names. People who know. And if you're not from Grand Forks, it wouldn't matter to you anyway what her name was. But so just like a little bit frustrating. And then like Tommy D, who's like married to the prom queen, Tammy with a Y, he like starts making out with Mrs. Lebowski, the sex education teacher who's there, and he eventually leaves Tammy because she just acts like a brat. And it's just, there's a lot of fun. We're having a good time with it. So I'm going to go ahead and darken this look. I'm going to start with Winter Woods, which is this deep, like navy matte shade. And I'm going to do that in kind of like a triangle on the outside. And I'm going to try to keep it very contained. So it's going to be similar to what I would normally do, but I'm not going to go up as far. I'm really going to try to keep that triangle shape. And then we're going to do something a little bit different with that. You'll see. This is always complicated by the fact that I have this scar. I fell as a kid and I hit my head on this curb basically at a gas station. And things just always go over that weird. So I have to kind of massage it a little bit. But I'm going to go a little bit onto the lower lash line. And then also just kind of bring this up and try to meet it up pretty close to that shimmer. And we're just really trying to keep this the under eye can be a little bit thicker. I'm not going to go in with a pencil brush, but I'm just trying to get this kind of very triangle cat eye kind of thing. So now you can see how there's kind of like a really hard, like we meet up with that dark shadow. There's a little bit that's empty here. And what we're going to do with that, this shade Delphinium is dark blue with kind of almost like purpley shifts to it. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to kind of work that in around here to kind of round out that shape a little bit. And I'm bringing that a little bit down onto the mat, and I'm trying to kind of go up and fill in that space and then go down and keep it all underneath that periwinkle. I still want that kind of arch that the periwinkle gives us. So that's basically what I want, except you'll notice again, we still have this like very hard line where we transition over to that darker shimmer. So what I'm going to do is go back into reflection, and I'm going to just kind of go along that and kind of tap it into the darker one. So we get a little bit more of a diffuse transition rather than like that. Very, very good at describing things I am. And suddenly I turned into Yoda. Do or do not do. There is no try. Cease and desist. Sorry, and as I was picking up color, I realized that this shade is actually Illusion. Reflection is the lighter one on the inner part. This is Illusion. So let's go ahead and then we'll just kind of put that right on the edge and kind of drag it into the darker shade so that we get a little bit more diffusion. Just see how it softens up that line. So it's not quite such a and go over here a little bit and just kind of play with all of this so we get much more of just like a melt. There we go. Now we'll do that to the other side. All right, so that gives me that sort of gradient that I want. It's not perfect, but I am running a little bit late, so we're going to go with that. I'm going to finish off the lower lash line, and I'm going to use this shimmer. It's called Fragaria. I don't know what that's a reference to. I don't really know who Sassy Fairy is. I'm so sorry. But Fragaria, it just makes me think of Fraggle Rock. But this is another light blue, but this one has little shifts of like gold and pink. And so I'm going to bring it right onto the lower lash line, blend it in with this darker shade, bring it all the way and do the inner corner and blend it up there. So we're going to do all this inner part with that. I don't know why I have to make that face. I don't know why I can't stop myself. Just that beautiful color. I don't know if it's catching the shifts in the camera. I'm trying something different with the lighting this time. I'm using that new recording setup again, and so I'm trying this out and trying to get the lighting right. And yeah, I'm hoping that things are not quite as blown out as last time. There we go. And I wanted to bring it down a little bit, not full like glitter tears, but that's one of my old like signature looks. I haven't done it as much lately, but I love a like glitter tear moment. And I thought, let's just make kind of a messy, a little bit thicker lower lash line to kind of be reminiscent of that. Before we put on lashes, from the TikTok Made Me Buy It files, I picked up the Maybelline Colossal Bubble Mascara. This has been all over my TikTok. This is Blackest Black. I bought the Blackest Brown. That was the first one that I could find. This one I had to go online and order. My Ulta, they had 2 tubes in stock, and they were both like brown black or blackish brown or something. And so I did get my hands on some black, and I'm going to go ahead and use this for mascara to darken my lashes before we put lashes on. So that's one coat. I have very wispy lashes. I'm going to put a couple more coats on. I do have to say, I tried the brownish black color on a Facebook Live, and I said then that I really kind of liked it. This one, I'm not liking as much. I don't know what it is about this black one that is different than the brown, but I just am not digging it nearly as much. And I think this might be one I've heard maybe from a couple reviewers that this is one of those that if you have it and it's open for a couple of weeks, it gets better. It's one of those things with mascara when they're first opened up, they're not great. And then as they age just a little bit, they get better. And I'm hoping that that's what happens with this one. The brown one I loved right away. This one, I don't know, it doesn't feel the same. The brush even feels different. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more coats of this on, and I'm going to get some brows on, and then we'll come back and do some blush. All right, so here we are. We have 3 coats of mascara on. I'll zoom in. I don't know if you can even see it. It's just there to darken the lashes before falsies, so I fell into the hype, but I don't notice anything wildly different than any of my other mascaras. Now, you know I love my glitter ombre brows, but because we're trying to stay true to the 80s, we're playing a real woman, and so we're just going to stay with the brown brows. But we are going to add some lashes. These are the Saint lashes from Blend Bunnies. They're still a little bit spiky and piecey the way that I like, but they're a little bit smaller than the Vixen lashes, which are my favorites. All right, so here are the eyes with the lashes done. Let's get into some blush draping. So I'm not going to do the full huge like drag blush drape that I do, but like I think of 80s and I think of very fuchsia pink blushes, and I think of some like a blush that's like really just like intense on the cheeks. And so I want to use a couple of L'Oreal blushes. This is the Infallible 24-Hour Blush in Legendary Berry, and I want to use this deep in the cheek to kind of help with the contour. So I'm not going to go all the way up the temple. I'm probably going to keep it the eyebrow or below is kind of where I want to keep this. And like I said, I'm just going to work this part into the more inner part of the cheek so you see it like it's in the contour when I'm facing front, and then you see it when I go to the side. Now we have this lighter shade that's called Confident Pink, and I'm going to bring this more onto the cheeks and blend it back up into that darker berry shade. All right, and now just to tamp down on the pink here, I'm going to hit it with a little bit more of this Polite Society powder, just to make it a little less intense. So you can see how that just kind of softens it just ever so much. Now, last night, in staying true to the 80s, I didn't use any highlight, and it hurt my heart. So I'm going to use just a little bit of highlight tonight, and I'm going to use a little bit of like a nudie champagne gold. So hopefully it's not. And I'm going to try to be subtle so it's not so crazy. And we're going to use just a little bit. This is the L'Oreal Infallible. This is their highlighter in Champagne Glow. So we'll use just a little bit just along here to maybe glow up the blush a little bit. I'm not going to go full Mr. Roboto. I'm not going to go down the center of my face, although I'm very tempted. But to stay true to the 80s, they didn't really highlight in the 80s. That wasn't the shimmer highlights like this. It wasn't really that. They did concealer under the eyes and stuff, but I'm going to use just a little bit because I just have to. All right, now I always do a beauty mark. Lately I've been doing a star, but that's a little too of the now. So in 80s spirit, we're just going to do a black beauty mark with a black liquid eyeliner. Now, for the brows, I did them blocky because I came up and first started drag in the 90s when everybody was doing the very tweezed, the very skinny brows. That really comes from Kevin Aquan, and that's a little bit too late for the 80s. But I am going to do a lip trick that Kevin Aquan did with Linda Evangelista in the 90s, but it works for 80s. And I'm going to do the lips. And basically what you do is you do your liner and your lipstick, and then you powder it down with powder and then do a second layer. And that really helps the longevity and the staying power of your lipstick. So we're going to do that. I did more purpley lips yesterday. I think I want to go a little bit more pink for this. I definitely want to keep it very 80s, very pink. So this is a Jacqueline lip liner, rest in peace Jacqueline Cosmetics, in the shade Faith.
When I'm sleeping with someone new, I just close my eyes and think of you. When I'm sleeping with someone new, I can help myself, I wanna get you. Still feel the way I feel when somebody calls you mine. Are you sleeping with someone new? Someone new,
This is a nudie peach P. Louise lipstick in Hooked on You. I'm going to put a pink gloss over this, but I'm going to use this nudie colored lipstick. Very nude. This is maybe a little bit later. This becomes a little bit more 2000s, but we're going to pink it up. Don't worry. So now that I've got my liner and lipstick on, I'm going in with my Polite Society peach powder and a little puff, and I'm going to go over all of the lips, the whole bit of it. I got this recommendation from an Erin Parsons video. She is a fabulous makeup artist and makeup collector. I love her videos. Definitely check out her channel. I'll have it linked below. But yeah, this is from Kevin Aquan, and this is how he made lipstick look beautiful and last a long time. So now I'm going back in with this lip liner, and I'm going to fill in a little bit more than I did last time. I'm going to go a little bit further in.
just close my eyes and think of you when I'm sleeping with someone new.
There we go. Because I always overdraw my lips, I always have to make sure, especially when I'm going to be up close with people, that I try to disguise where the lip liner is and where my lips are. So I try to blend it over to make sure it's covering. I mean, it's not fooling anybody, but I can hopefully mask it a little bit. So now I'm going to take this Fenty gloss stick in Fussy, and I'm going to go over it, and that should give us some pink. It's going to give us some sparkle, and we've got this pale peach nude underneath to kind of brighten everything up. Right, so there we have a pink lip. So like I said last night, the eye look was basically the same, but we did a little bit more of a purple lip. And I'll put the picture up next to me, and you can tell me down in the comments below, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the darker, a little bit more vampy purple lip? Or do you like this softer femme lingerie pink kind of lip? Let me know in the comments below. We're going to give it one more spritz down with setting spray. Cheap fan, expensive breeze, good time. And that is the look. The wig that I'm wearing tonight is actually at the theater because I left it there after the show last night. So I'm going to throw on a different wig, and we will come back for final thoughts.
The place is loud, but yeah, you cut through the noise. I wish I knew what you were thinking of. One last drink before it's time to go home. I had my chance, but I screwed it up once more. It's been years and it's still...
All right, so this is the final look. Now, obviously, this hair is not right. I'm going to be blonde, 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 very 80s Malibu Bobby Darla Kavanaugh, Teresa Kavanaugh. She's very concerned with fashion. Now, this is actually the sweater that I wore for Darla's yearbook photo when she was still nerdy. She had big brown hair with a bow. She was trying, but she was on the struggle bus for sure. But this little sweater, this I got in a mystery box from X Plus, where they had this thing where you could get 10 mystery items for like $80. So it's like $8 a piece. We'll see if we can use any of them. And this one I was going to just like donate to a thrift store or something, but I was like, there's something just weird and wonderful about this. And I was like, maybe I'll use it for filming. I was like, it feels like a character. So I was like, I have to keep it because it feels like a character. And then when Darla Kavanaugh came along and we were going to do this show and I needed a yearbook photo, I was like, this is her yearbook sweater. She's trying. She was dressing up. I had a unibrow. It was so funny. We had so much fun with this, and I'm so glad that I didn't have to do that Darla Kavanaugh. I got to do this glamorous Darla Kavanaugh. So it was a lot of fun. You should check it out. So if you came to Hoboken High Reunion 1989, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Did you have a good time? Did you guess the mystery? Did you know that Doreen was guilty? What did you think of the whole reveal? What did you think of all the storylines? Let me know down in the comments. While you are down there, don't forget to hit that thumbs up to tell me that you appreciated the video. Or if you are like, girl, you are doing the most, this is too much, like we came here for just makeup, not community theater, go ahead and give me that thumbs down. It's all right. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I know sometimes I struggle, but I try to have at least one video a week for you. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, reunion-orific, you guys. And if you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne at janessaj.com. I'm sorry I don't have nails on. I'm putting them on at the theater. Let me live. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I'm so glad that you came here for this little Get Ratchet with me where I got to show off the glamour of Darla Kavanaugh / Teresa Kavanaugh. And then when I'm getting out of drag at the end, I'm like, maybe I'm her brother, Larry Kavanaugh, who really knows. Who can say? It's a night of mystery and secrets. It's crazy. But we had such a good time putting this together, and I hope you enjoyed this little look into the glamour look that I created for Hoboken High Reunion 1989. Will we hear from Teresa Kavanaugh ever again? Is she going to become a character somewhere? Who knows? You never know where she might pop up. But I hope you enjoyed. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. And until I see you again, bye. So Darla enters. Ooh, Fallout. Itchy nose. Itchy nose. Before we put on, okay. Oh, we're still recording. That's fun. I guess I didn't think to turn it off. She was. And while you're down there, and if you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate, nope. And the staying powder, and the staying powder, and the staying powder.